Good, happy Thursday evening, November 12th, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Thursday evening edition of The News with Riley King. Let's begin. First up, we begin with COVID-19 updates from Johns Hopkins University and Medicine. Let's take a look at that right now. And here's a look at those COVID-19 updates for all of you right now. Global cases are 52,588,560. U.S. cases are 10,523,260. Global deaths are 1,290,840. U.S. deaths are 242,577. And that is a look at your COVID-19 updates from Johns Hopkins University and Medicine. The Justice Department says the prosecutor who handled a 2008 case against Jeffrey Epstein, who was accused of abusing teenage girls, showed poor judgment. Alex Asota, who later became President Trump's labor secretary, was under fire for the plea deal he entered into with Epstein. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS Evening News.
The Justice Department said the prosecutor who handled a 2008 case against Jeffrey Epstein showed poor judgment, but did not engage in professional misconduct. Alex Acosta, who later became President Trump's labor secretary, was under fire for the generous plea deal that he entered into with Epstein, who was accused of abusing dozens of teenage girls. Well, today, a lawyer for Epstein's victims called the DOJ report a cover-up. The Justice Department said the prosecutor...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. A growing number of Republicans say President-elect Joe Biden should get classified intelligence briefings, typically provided to an incoming president. This as President Trump keeps up his post-election purge in forcing out officials at the Department of Homeland Security. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
CBS News has learned President Trump has told advisors he may run again in 2024, even while he refuses to concede, blocking the transition to President-elect Joe Biden. But the president's firewall of Republican support is starting to crack.
We need to consider the former vice president as the president-elect. Joe Biden is the president-elect.
Several Republican senators, including Ted Cruz, now say Biden should have access to the presidential daily intelligence briefings, something the White House has not provided.
For the sake of protecting the country, you want whoever is going to assume that office to be aware of the significant threats, because the first responsibility of any president is to keep the American people safe.
The Trump campaign continues to file legal challenges, even as senior advisors tell CBS News there's no viable path to overturning the election results. Sources say President Trump knows this, but likes to be seen as a fighter. Democrats accuse Republicans of knowingly supporting President Trump's false narrative.
Congressional Republicans are deliberately casting doubt on our elections for no other reason but fear of Donald Trump.
Diagnosed with COVID yesterday. Self-isolating here at home.
CBS News has confirmed Corey Lewandowski, a top campaign advisor involved in the legal fight, now has coronavirus, one of at least 5 cases among those who attended a packed election night party inside the White House.
I don't know what the hell happened to Fox, huh?
And tonight, President Trump targeting Fox News, tweeting and retweeting a barrage of attacks on the network, still angry that Fox called Arizona for Biden on election night. A new report says President Trump wants to start his own digital media company to clobber Fox News after he leaves office. Now, despite President Trump continuing to question the outcome of the election, tonight the nation's top election security officials say they have the utmost confidence in the integrity and the security of the election, and the American people should too. Nora.
All right, Ben Tracy, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Stacey Abrams speaks with Blair Alexandra from NBC News about Georgia's political shift. Let's take a listen to that video from NBC News right now.
A Democratic victory was a long time coming.
This is a great celebratory moment for all of us, for people of color, for people who waited hours on end.
She was one of them.
You've been here about 3 hours. I'm not leaving.
From primary day to the general election.
Was it worth it? Absolutely worth it.
It was experiences like hers that motivated Stacey Abrams to ramp up the battle she had been fighting for years.
It renewed our belief that we had a vital fight on our hands.
After losing her own gubernatorial race in 2018 by 55,000 votes, Abrams founded her group Fair Fight and helped lead the registration of 800,000 new voters.
What is it about your approach that's so different? We started working on this initiative in 2010 after we lost every statewide elective office for Democrats. It wasn't enough to register voters. We had a singular focus on registration and engagement. It's like giving someone the keys to a car but never teaching them how to drive. We built a ground game that absolutely combined those two pieces. We went to communities that had never seen a politician.
Many of those new voters, black voters, this year turning out in record numbers.
Our survival was on the ballot.
What would black voters want to see from a Biden presidency?
I think first and foremost, it's access to health care. We know that COVID-19 has had a disproportionate effect on black lives.
With a recount underway, President-elect Biden remains in the lead as eyes turn to Georgia's 2 Senate runoffs that will determine who holds the majority. As for her own political future,
do you have an ideal position potentially in the Biden administration?
My ideal position is the person here in Georgia who helps deliver John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock to the U.S. Senate on January 5th.
Abrams says she's just one piece of a collective movement for Democrats that she believes is here to stay. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Atlanta.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And let's take a look at that U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. And here's a check of the U.S. stock market for all of you for this Thursday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red and went down. Your Nasdaq closed in the red and went down. S&P 500 closed in the red and went down. Gold closed in green and went up. Oil closed in the red and went down. U.S. 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed in green and went up. And VX closed in the green and went up. One Block Parade. This year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will look a lot different due to coronavirus. Balloons and floats will forgo the long trek through the city and the parade for just 1 block and without a live audience. There will also be pre-taped performances. Let's take a listen to that video right now from CBS Evening News to learn more about this parade this year.
The The Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City will look a lot different when it airs 2 weeks from today. Because of COVID, the balloons and floats won't make the long trek through the city, but will go just one block for the TV cameras and without a live audience. There will also be pre-taped performances from those Broadway shows and performers.
Okay.
The Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City will look...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And switching gears now, let's go into your weather. 4 dead, 2 missing after flooding plummets North Carolina. In Charlottesville, flooding lead to evacuations at a charter school. Relentless rainfall is plummeting North Carolina, sparking deadly flash flooding. Take a look at these images here. People needed to be rescued, as you can see. Flooding in Alexander County has 4 people dead and 2 others, 1 adult and 1 child missing. Rainfall totals have reached 8.6% in the Rocky Mountain and 7.66 inches in Wilson. In Charlotte, where over 4.5 inches of rain fell in less than 6 hours, flooding led to evacuations at a charter school. At least 143 people have been rescued, fire crews said. Flash flood warnings remain in effect across a large portion of North Carolina, with flash flood watches in effort along the mid-Atlantic coast from South Carolina to Virginia. And let's take a look at your tonight's forecast across the United States this evening. And here's a look at tonight's forecast across the United States this evening. In Boston, it's going to be 45 degrees with some clouds and rain. In New York, 48 degrees with rain. Washington, D.C., cloudy. In Miami, 74 degrees, cloudy with rain. Tampa, 49 degrees, cloudy. In Dallas, 56 degrees, cloudy and rain. In Los Angeles, 48 degrees with the moon. And in San Francisco, 46 degrees with clouds. And that is a look at your weather this evening. And that does it for this evening edition of The News with Riley King. Thank you for joining us for this evening edition of The News with Riley King. Have a great rest of your evening. See you back here tomorrow for another edition of The News with Riley King. Good night and goodbye, everyone.